Hello, this is Gray Hughes. Today I'm doing a video update on Timothy Cunningham. A friend of mine, Elizabeth, sent me a link that goes over why the police believe he committed suicide, and it matches a lot of the stuff that we were saying early on. Okay, but before we get started, I'd like to say thank you to my new Patreon supporter, Kathy Travis Leslie. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right, so right now we are going to go over the article. I'm basically going to read it, but we'll go over the points and I might interject a comment here or there. All right, let's get started. To those who knew him best, Timothy Cunningham was a well-educated, motivated career man who felt it was his purpose to change lives. But in his personal life, Cunningham struggled with his sexuality, was upset he hadn't landed a promotion, and lived with a chronic disease, family and friends told Atlanta police. It's now no longer a mystery how the Center of Disease Control and Prevention epidemiologist died. Cunningham committed suicide by drowning himself, according to the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution on Monday obtained more than 600 pages of documents that show how the extensive investigation unfolded. Though there are hints at the personal struggles Cunningham was facing, there are no definitive answers to the biggest question, why? Cunningham, 35, was reported missing from his northwest Atlanta home in February. Just over 7 weeks later, his body was pulled from the Chattahoochee River. An autopsy determined Cunningham drowned, but the case remained open for 6 weeks while investigators worked to determine if the drowning was accidental. They reviewed evidence and transcriptions of interviews with family, friends, and coworkers from an extensive investigation that began on February 14th, Valentine's Day, the day his parents reported him missing. You have to figure things out for yourself. Those were among the last words Cunningham told his sister, Tiana, over the phone, she told police. The siblings were close and spoke frequently, but in their last conversation, Tina thought her older brother sounded paranoid. When Cunningham stopped responding to his family's calls, it alarmed his parents, who drove from Maryland to his Atlanta home. All of their son's personal items, including his SUV and beloved dog, Mr. Bojangles, had been left behind. His parents found some of his clothes in trash bins outside the garage. That's something new that we didn't know, they told police. But there was no sign of Cunningham. So how did Cunningham, who knew how to swim, end up dead in the Chattahoochee River? We may never be able to tell you how he got into the river, said Atlanta Police Major Michael O'Connor on April 15th, 2 days after Cunningham's body was found. Now, for those conspiracy theorists out there, that's enough to keep it going for them. But if you listen to the rest of this, you'll see why they believe this, and hopefully it'll change some of your minds as well. The story quickly made national headlines due to his job at the CDC. Social media responded with wild speculation about connections between the work he did for the CDC and his disappearance. And yes, I saw that every single day in the comments on my videos. We're very aware of the conspiracy theories, O'Connor said at a February 27th news conference. Police said they had had very few leads in the case, but tipsters from around the country believed they'd seen Cunningham and contacted police with that information. A woman in Hawaii said she believed Cunningham was her new neighbor, according to the police file. Cunningham's research focused on health disparities related to race, socioeconomic status, gender, and geography, according to his colleagues. His work was published in numerous journals. After teaching undergraduate classes at Morehouse College, Spelman College, and Clark Atlanta University, Cunningham joined the CDC in 2010. At the time of his death, he was a team leader in the Epidemiology and Surveillance Branch of the CDC Division of Population Health. Now this is key right here. On February 7th, Cunningham resigned from a special CDC team tasked with deploying to areas in need by sending an email to Commander Richard Dunville. And Dunville said, "I thought he sounded exasperated. In fact, I would have encouraged him to stay on through June when he would have received a service award, but he sounded too ready to leave." The next day, Cunningham was told he didn't get a promotion he'd wanted. You see, there's that word promotion. Okay, but in that industry, they don't call it that, all right? But the person who wrote this article does, because that's what the rest of us call it, a promotion. Let me read this again. It says, the next day, Cunningham was told he didn't get a promotion he'd wanted. His supervisor told police. Janet Croft told investigators that since Cunningham didn't get the job he'd hoped for, he was considering finding a job in Washington, D.C., in order to be closer to his parents. He wasn't at work February 9th, a Friday. Then it looks like he wrote, "Hi, Janet. I'm still not feeling 100%. I won't be in the office today." That's what he wrote to Janet, his supervisor, in an email. And right now is a key part of this article and explains a lot. After delivering a baby February 9th, Nell Reed sent her best friend a picture of her newborn, and he congratulated her in a text message. Cunningham was to be her daughter's godfather. So, awkwardly, this is written. Nell Reed is saying that her best friend is Cunningham, and that he was going to be the godfather of her child. But then he went missing. Reed, who lives in Texas, told police Cunningham had struggles with his sexual identity and in 2010 had a breakdown. She said that Tim talked to her about his feelings toward men and that he didn't consider himself gay, the case file states. Though he didn't identify himself as gay, Cunningham told Reed about reconnecting with a former Morehouse classmate. She said the person had been coming to Tim's house and that Tim began to question whether the person was playing with his feelings, police said. In an interview with investigators, the classmate said that Cunningham had come onto him in recent months. About 2 weeks before Cunningham's disappearance, the man blocked his number on his cell phone. So at this point, Cunningham is feeling scorned. He said he didn't want to become confrontational because they moved in the same social circles, but it was obvious to him that Mr. Cunningham was making light advances, police wrote in the investigative file. On February 9th, Cunningham was alone at El Bar in Atlanta when he saw his former classmate, so the person that Cunningham was attracted to, on a date with a woman. The two men shook hands. The following morning, Cunningham asked the man to go out for breakfast, but he declined. Cunningham's sister told police she knew her brother had reconnected with a classmate, but she told police he was interested in two women at work. After a break, Cunningham was trying to begin dating again, his sister said. While police interviewed those closest to Cunningham, the search continued to find him. Local parks and cemeteries were searched, and a helicopter also scanned the area. There was no sign of Cunningham until the first week of April. So, if you guys remember, we were basically saying the same thing on the very first video. So I have it queued up here. Listen to this. So that maybe this guy, he was single. It sounded like he wasn't in a relationship. But when the officer in the press conference was talking about that, he kind of looked a little uncomfortable, turned his head. It almost seemed like maybe there was somebody he was interested in, but they weren't interested in him like that. Right? The way he worded it made me feel like that. So you see that? That was right on the money back in the day. You know, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, whatever, but, well, maybe a little bit. Okay, so this is the first video, and that's because I looked at everything rationally. I watched the press conference. I got hints from that, just as I mentioned right there. And I felt like that he may have been jilted. Now, we looked at other theories and so forth. Maybe he was walking along the street and hit by a car, that kind of thing. But I always thought the suicide angle made sense based on little hints that the parents gave and the information given out at the original press conference. Okay, and I think in other videos that I made, I think we talked about him even possibly being gay, and that the person that he was interested in wasn't interested in him. Okay, and I know a friend of mine, Beth, said the same thing as well. And you know, what it comes down to is people looking at things rationally. You can come up with what is most likely the real answer. Now, are there sometimes crazy things going out in society that are beyond normal action? Sure. I mean, sometimes conspiracies really do happen, but most of the time they don't. The vast majority of the time, there is no conspiracy, all right? So I want to put this update out there for everyone. I think it confirms a lot of the beliefs and thoughts that a lot of us had when we were covering the Timothy Cunningham case, and it feels good to be validated. Now, there'll still be people out there that don't believe it because, again, they have this narrative in their mind and they use confirmation bias and will always look at everything and how it supports their narrative. Okay? So that's all I have for you on this case, everybody. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Maybe hit that notification bell if you'd like to be notified of live videos that I make, or even any video in general. That would be great. All right? So until next time, everybody, be safe out there.